So the power goes out. You hop online and you've probably seen this hack a million times. Just grab your car battery, hook up an inverter, and boom, you've got power. It seems like the perfect cheap solution for an emergency, right? But is it really that simple? Let's really dig into this.
And hey, the promise is super appealing, isn't it? You see all these DIY videos out there, people running their lights, TVs, charging their phones, all from a regular old car battery. They make it look like you've got this secret little power plant just sitting there in your driveway.
But here's the catch. Those quick, simple demos, they almost always leave out the most critical parts. The actual engineering, the math, and, the very real dangers involved. So we're going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly what's happening when you try to do this. All right, so the biggest, and I mean the biggest misunderstanding here comes down to a really simple analogy. A car battery is built to be a sprinter. Its one and only job is to give a massive, powerful jolt of energy for just a few seconds to crank your engine over. After that, its job is done. It's not and was never meant to be a marathon runner.
Okay, so this is the why behind it all. On the left, you've got the starter battery. Its secret sauce is all those super thin plates inside. That design gives it a huge amount of surface area, which is perfect for that giant burst of power we need. But then, look over at the deep cycle battery on the right. See how those plates are thick, just really beefy? That's all about endurance. It's built to deliver a nice, steady stream of power for hours, and it's designed to be drained down and recharged over and over and over again, which is precisely what a car battery just cannot handle.
And that's the crucial takeaway. When you try to force a car battery to act like a deep cycle battery, you are literally destroying it from the inside out. Draining it that deep causes a chemical process called sulfation, and it just wrecks those fragile thin plates. Seriously, after maybe 3 to 5 of these deep drains, your car battery could be completely toast, useless.
Okay, let's get into the math, because this is where the theory becomes a very, very harsh reality. And this is the part that those online videos conveniently seem to forget. It explains exactly why trying to run big appliances is just such a terrible idea. So on paper, a typical 12-volt, 60-amp-hour car battery holds about 720 watt-hours of energy. You just multiply the volts by the amp-hours to get that number. And, that might sound like a pretty decent amount of juice, maybe enough to do some real work. But, and this is a huge but, remember what we just said about damaging the battery? Well, to avoid killing it, you should never, ever discharge a starter battery more than 50%. That's like the golden rule for keeping it alive. So yeah, that 720 watt-hours, poof, you gotta slash it in half. Your real, actual, usable energy budget is only around 360 watt-hours. All of a sudden, that number seems a whole lot smaller, doesn't it? And it completely changes what you can realistically power.
Okay, so now we need to talk about a little bit of physics. Don't worry, it's simple. It's all about this equation. Power equals voltage times current. And this is so important because your battery is a low-voltage 12-volt source. That means to power your high-wattage stuff from your house, it has to pump out a massive amount of current. Think about something common, right? A 1,000-watt appliance, maybe a small microwave or a coffee maker. You plug that into your inverter, which is hooked up to that 12-volt battery. So how much current is that battery actually being forced to deliver?
And the math here is, honestly, it's just insane. To get 1,000 watts, you're pulling over 83 amps from that little 12-volt battery. Then you have to account for the inverter not being perfectly efficient, and that number easily climbs to nearly 100 amps. Just look at that. That is an absolutely colossal, continuous load that a starter battery was never, ever, ever designed to handle.
And look, this isn't just about your lights flickering or your battery dying. When you push a system this hard, you're getting into some really serious safety risks that, frankly, most people have no idea about.
First off, that 100 amp draw we talked about, it's going to make your cables get hot, like dangerously hot, which is a major fire hazard. Second, the battery's voltage is just going to collapse under that kind of stress, which will probably cause the inverter to just shut down. That's why your fridge won't even start. And third, and this is the scariest one, the battery starts venting flammable hydrogen gas. I really need to hammer this point home. When you put a lead-acid battery under this much strain, it releases hydrogen. That gas is incredibly explosive, and all it takes is one tiny spark, maybe from one of your inverter clamps scraping a terminal, to cause a really, really dangerous explosion. This is why you must have fantastic ventilation if you even think about trying this.
Okay, so now that we know all the bad news, the limits, the dangers, what's the smart way to go about this? Well, it all comes down to matching what you're trying to power to what the battery can actually handle safely. It's about using the right tool for the right job.
This right here, this is your cheat sheet. In a pinch, a car battery is totally fine for the small, essential stuff. Charging your phone, running a few LED lights, maybe keeping your Wi-Fi router on. These are all low-power devices. But the second you start looking at things with big motors or heating elements, we're talking refrigerators, microwaves, space heaters, you are way into the danger zone. Just don't do it.
Look, if you're actually serious about backup power for your home, you have to use the right equipment, and that means deep cycle batteries. These are the marathon runners we talked about. It doesn't matter if it's AGM, gel, or lithium, they are all built from the ground up to provide stable, long-term power and to be safely drained and recharged hundreds, even thousands of times.
So, at the end of the day, is the car battery hack a complete myth? Well, no, not exactly. But it's really just a last-ditch effort for tiny devices. It is absolutely not a substitute for a real backup system. Knowing all that, it really makes you think. In a real power outage, with just that tiny 360 watt-hour budget, what would be the single most important thing for you to keep powered up?